What's up, folks? I'm Dwayne,
I'm Alicia.
and this is Blackboard Gaming, where we teach you about all these great board games that are out there.
Waiting to be played by you and yours.
I'm a simple man, don't wanna complicate ya. Complicate ya.
Hey, everybody!
Today, we're going to give you the heads up on a game that's coming to Kickstarter soon. That game is called Nocturne.
Nocturne is designed by David Iezzi and published by Flatout Games.
Let's go to the table for an overview of how this game is played.
Nocturne is a set collection auction game for 1 to 4 players, where the players take on the roles of mystical foxes out gathering items in a magical forest. To set up the game, each player is going to be given a character card and a set of spell tokens that match that card's color. Now, we're setting up for a 2-player game, so the players will have access to all their spell cards. If this was a 3-player game setup, we will remove one of these 3 spell tokens, and if this is a setup for 4 players, we remove one of the 3s and one of the 4s. Now, these character cards have 2 sides. There's side A and side B. Side B is used for advanced play, where the player will get a one-time special ability that they can use throughout the game. And once they use it, they will flip that card back to the A side. Now, all players are going to use the same side of their player card. The next thing we would do is take this deck of starter concoction cards, and after giving it a good shuffle, we will deal 1 to each of the players. And the players will make sure that they keep these hidden from the rest of the players. Next, we would take the deck of Twilight Gold cards, deck of Moonlight Gold cards, and the deck of Concoction cards. And after giving each of those a good shuffle, we will place those face down near the play area in reach of all players. Now, the game is played over 2 rounds. First round being the Twilight round, and the second round being the Moonlight round. So we won't be using the Moonlight cards yet. But to set up for the Twilight round, we would reveal 3 cards off the top of that deck below the cards, so they can be in full view of all players. Next, we would take the shadow spell tokens and place them above those decks of cards in ascending numerical order. And those shadow spell tokens will be used during the Moonlight round. Next, we would take the 80 item tiles and give them a thorough shuffle, and then we reveal a number of tiles and place them out onto the table in a grid based on the number of players. So it will be a 4x4 grid for a 2-player game, a 4x5 grid for a 3-player game, and we would create a 5x5 grid if we were playing with 4 players. And then we would take the remaining item tiles and place them in face down stacks in reach of all players. The last thing we would do is take this forest sprite board and place it beneath the grid of tiles. And then we would draw tiles from those stacks and place it on this board based on the number of players. So this will be the setup for 2 players. And we would place a tile here if it was set up for 3 players. And then we would place this tile here if it was set up for 4 players. Now that the game is all set up on the table, we will randomly choose a start player, which will be this player here, and then we can start the game. So, like I said, this game is going to last over the course of 2 rounds, and each round is split up into spell casting phases. And what that means is the players are trying to gather these items out in the forest, and they're trying to gather these items in order to fulfill these concoction cards that they're keeping hidden from the other players. Now, to get these items, they are casting powerful magic spells, which are represented by these tokens. And they're placing these tokens out on these tiles, and they're going to keep doing that in each phase until most of the players pass, and then whoever has the highest value token will take that tile and place it into their play area. So each round, the starting player is going to place their tile first, and being at the beginning of the round, they have to place their lowest value token. So their lowest value token is this one here. And so let's say they decide they're going to place that here. So now play goes over to the purple player. And the purple player is looking at his concoction card, trying to figure out what he's trying to get. But he knows in order to play, when he casts a spell, he has to place it on a tile that's orthogonally adjacent to the previously placed spell token, and it has to be of a higher value. So he looks at his concoction, and he needs a couple bones and one of these herbs, and then a feather. Now, if he fulfills this top, the bone and the herb, he will get 2 points. But if he is able to gather all these tokens, these symbols, then he will get 5 points for this card at the end of the game. So let's say he decides that he's going to go here and place, let's say he's going to put a 5, because he's trying to get that. Now, the thing is, now the play goes back to the orange player, and they have to place a token on an orthogonally adjacent tile, but they have to place it at a higher value. And as you can see, these tokens are limited. So now, if they want to place the tile, they have to place a 6 or 7 or this star. This star is a guarantee. Like, if a player places this, they guarantee to get that tile. So let's say this player, they decide that they're going to do a 6 here, because their concoction, that's double herbs. They need 2 herbs, a feather, and an egg. Now, your character has a symbol already, so he already has the feather. But now he just needs an egg and the 2 herbs. So he decided to go there, and he went kind of high, which is going to force this player to go. They either got to play the 7 or they got to play their star. And so they decide that, you know what, I'm going to let you have that. So they're going to pass, and that they pass by flipping that X over. So now that they pass, the star player is going to take this tile, place it in their play area, and then they're going to flip this token, upside down right there. And then they're going to take this, put it back in their play area. Now, the players that were unsuccessful, they can either take this and put it back in their play area, or they can move it down to the forest sprite board. By placing their spell token out onto the forest sprite board, at the end of the round, if it is still the highest value token, then that player, the purple player, will get first pick for one of these tiles, and they'll be able to draft it. So there's another tile with a bone symbol on there. Or they might be trying to do set collections for these. And I'll talk about how all these tiles score in a little bit. So let's say later on in the round, the purple player places a 4, and they have to place it in descending order. The orange player, later on in the round, places this 5, so this 5 is going to push this 4 over here. Now, in a 2-player game, it goes this far. So let's say the purple player had this 3 here, and then the orange player decides to put their 7 there, then that's going to push everything to the side. And then this 3 comes off the board and it's going to go back to the purple player's play area. And then, like I said, at the end of the round, going from highest to lowest, they will get first pick of these tiles that's on the forest sprite board. Whenever a player gains an item tile from the forest grid, they will check to see if they were able to achieve one of the 3 face-up Twilight Gold cards that's on the table. So this one, says be the first to win a tile with the value 3 spell. Now they won that tile with a value 6 spell, so they wouldn't get this one. But let's say they did it with a 3 spell, they would take this card and place it in their play area, and this would give them 3 points at the end of the game. And whenever a player takes one of these cards, they will not be replenished. These are the cards that's available for this particular game. The player that won the most recent tile will be the new starting player, which means the orange player will be starting this phase. And now he can place any value spell token out onto the forest grid, but he has to place that spell on a tile that's orthogonally adjacent to the tile that he just won. And so play will continue clockwise like that, with players either placing their spell tiles or passing and gaining item tiles until either all the tiles on the forest grid are gone, or no one wants the remaining tiles, so they all just pass. At which time the twilight round will end and we will set up for the moonlight round. The first thing we would do is resolve the forest sprite board. Starting with the player that has the highest value token, they will be able to grab one of these tiles, whichever one they choose. So purple player might decide to get this one, and orange player, they get the eggs, and we flip those over actually. Once we've taken those tiles, let's say the purple player decides they want this one, and then the orange player is left with this feather. Players that have leftover spell tokens will be awarded these shadow spell tokens based on highest to lowest. So the orange player has the highest with this value 3, so they will get this 10. And then the purple player has this 2, so they'll get this 9. And then we have 2 1s, and ties are broken by the position of their spell tokens on the forest board. So if you remember, the purple player had a 5 value, so they would get this 8, and then the orange player will get this 7. Each player will retrieve all of their spell tokens, returning them to their play area, and then they will discard their excess spell tokens. So for every shadow spell token that they were awarded, they have to remove a spell token for each, their lowest value. So this 1 and this 2 will be returned to the game box. We won't use those for the rest of the game. If there are any Twilight Gold cards remaining from the Twilight round, we'll remove those from play, and then we will reveal 3 of the Moonlight Gold cards, placing them face up in the same area beneath those decks. Lastly, we will refill the item tiles to form the forest grid, and we will place tiles back onto the forest sprite board. And then we can start the moonlight round. Now the moonlight round is played exactly as the twilight round with a couple of exceptions. The moonlight gold cards, those can't be taken. Those are available for all the players. Also, everybody now has these shadow spell tokens, and we're using these out onto the forest grid, but you cannot, they're of a neutral color, so they can't be used to achieve the moonlight gold cards. Also, you cannot send these tokens to the forest sprite board. And then, like I said, the moonlight round is played exactly the same, with the players casting spells and gaining item tiles until all the tiles are gone from the forest grid, and then that will trigger the end of the game, and when we would do final scoring. So let's talk about how you score points in this game. So you will score points for the sets of different items in the game, and we use this nice score sheet that they provide. So if you look up here, we score for the bones. So the bones they just have a set score. So this one scores 4 points, this one scores 2 points. Now these symbols, these matter when we're scoring the concoction, so we're not going to pay attention to those yet. Now next would be the feathers. And the feather score for how many you have. So if you look at this, if you have 3 feather tiles, you get 8 points. You get a 4th, you get 13 points. We got 3, this will be 8 points. Now next, we do the mushroom. And the mushrooms, this one, if you only have 1, you'll only score 0 points. But if you have 2, which we have here, that scores 9 points. And we could start another set if we had those. Now these mushrooms here, the same thing. If you have 1, you will score 3 points. If you have 2, you will only score 0 points. So if we didn't have this one, that would be 0 points. But since we had 3, that scores us 13 points. The herb cards, we would score, so each of the herb cards has a base score. So that's 3, 3, 1, and 1, so that's 8 points. But then we will also score for unique. So all these herbs are unique, and that's 4 of them. So that will score us another 8 points. So this whole thing will score us 16 points. The way these eggs, these mysterious eggs score is whoever has the most will score 4 points for each tile. Remember, we're not paying attention to the symbols. And second place will score 3 points for each tile. So if I had the most here, this will score me 12 points. This cursed treasure chest will give me -1 point at the end of the game. But throughout the game, if I win this tile, I will immediately be able to draw 3 item tiles from the top of one of the stacks. And I will pick one and place the other 2 at the bottom of the stack. This runestone, ancient runestone, will grant me a symbol that I can use to score my concoction cards. But throughout the game, if I win this tile, I'll be able to draw 3 concoctions from the concoction deck and choose one of those and return the other 2 to the bottom of its stack, of the deck rather. And then this one, which is a mirror stone, at the end of the game, I will assign this to copy one of my other item tiles. So like I said, let's say I had these 2 mushrooms. 2 of these will only score me 0 points. But I could take this mirror stone and add it to this set, and now I'm scoring 13 points here. Next, I will score my concoction cards. So for this one, I have the 2 herbs right up here. I have the feather, which is on my character card, but I don't have the egg. So I scored the top half, which would be 2 points. Over here, I have both the mushroom symbols, I have the bone, I have the herb right over here, and I have the feather. Now, when scoring these concoction cards, you can only use 1 for 1. You can't, like, this can't be used for both this and this. Now, being that I have all the items for this one, I scored the 6 points on this card. Next, I will score the points from the Twilight goals that I was able to achieve in the first round. And then I will score points if I was able to achieve any of these 3 Moonlight goals. Lastly, we will score 2 points for each of our leftover spell tokens. So that's going to score me 6 points. And if we were playing the advanced play with our asymmetric side, if I hadn't used that one-time power, then that would get me an extra 2 points. And then once we've tallied up all those points, as you can see by this score pad, then whoever has the most points will be the winner of Nocturne. So if I didn't already mention it, this is a prototype copy of the game.
Which means that the final copy might be a little different.
Yeah. And also there's one thing I didn't mention in the overview is corner casting. Is when you place your spell token on a tile that does not have any orthogonally adjacent tiles, then you've just performed corner casting. Now the thing is, instead of you being the start player in the next phase, the play goes over to the next player clockwise, and they can place their start casting spells on any tile out in the forest grid. Okay. Now, with that said, as you can see, this game has a few different mechanics. I mean, it has set collection, there's auction bidding, and then there's like what is it? Like the area control, you know.
One of the things that I think, one of the challenges that I think this game offers is, even though you clearly know your concoctions and you know what items you want to capture, figuring out the strategy to be able to capture that particular item on the board is a challenge.
Yeah, it is challenging and it's unique.
Yes.
And I think that's what, you know, it's so many different board games that coming out and how they added this unique aspect of the auction bidding and like we played 2-player, and I definitely want to play this at 3 or 4 player because I think it is better at 3 or 4.
I could see that.
Because with us, it's just going back and forth. Because there was a time where I was just gathering tiles, you know, and I think it would be better at higher player count. But it's just that challenge, trying to figure out your strategy, you know, to get those items.
Now, one thing about this, because you have to follow the lead of the first player, you might have to do a lot of pivoting.
Yeah.
Which could cause another challenge.
Right.
However, even though you might have to pivot a lot, there are a lot of different ways to score.
Yeah, you're trying to pay attention to your concoctions. You're trying to pay attention to, you know, the set collection, getting those different herbs or those eggs, and the Twilight Gold cards and the Moonlight Gold cards. You're paying attention to those. And also when you know, if you are unsuccessful, if you get to place one of your spell tokens down on that forest sprite, you know, board, or, you know, that it's just so many things to pay attention to. So, I mean, and it's just challenging. And I'm intrigued. I'm going to be honest.
So, if you like set collection, area majority, a unique theme.
Yeah, auction bidding. You know, I think that's the one thing that brings the theme, like Beth Sobel's art.
Now, yes, Beth Sobel is the artist on this as well.
Yeah, and it just really just helps to bring you like those, you know, the way she, you know.
She sets the mood.
Yeah, she sets the mood.
Her art sets the mood.
So, I mean, so that's Nocturne, you know. This game, like we said, is coming to Kickstarter very soon. And this was sent to us by Flatout Games to take a look. And I think you guys should go over there and check it out, you know. So, and we're going to leave a link in the description below to the Kickstarter page. Now, if you like the contents of this video, feel free to hit the like button.
Follow us on Instagram, Facebook, and Twitter.
Don't forget to subscribe. And I'm Dwayne.
I'm Alicia.
This has been Blackboard Gaming.
We will see you next time.